Gary,
Nice.
why don't you do the intro? You've been on enough.
I'm up to it.
Gary, you're a natural. Please tell me you've got pants on.
On commando.
I swear I just saw a leg. I was like, that's not acceptable.
just front. It's the way down. There's nothing. Absolutely nothing.
Unacceptable.
Okay, here we go then. So ready? Hello and welcome to the Monday Club, and it's my great pleasure to be joined by Sam and by Nick this evening. How are you both?
Well, I'm very well.
So wait for yeah. Not too bad. Been sunning it.
Well, I'm very well. Got something to admit, but before I admit this, I'd like to welcome a new person to the podcasting fraternity, Mr. Tom Bickerton. He answered the back call. Tom, say hello.
Hello.
Excellent. Man of many words.
How you all doing? You all right? It's
Yes.
quite nice to meet people in their face properly instead of just seeing pictures of Instagram going past most evenings. So it's really good to meet you all.
Awesome.
Cheers, mate. And you?
All right, Nick.
Oh,
So I've got something.
He's already started.
Yeah, I'm on one. So I was squirreling away. Today is actually Sunday, and I was squirreling away, getting the podcast edited for tomorrow, and I can't find it. So I don't know where it's gone, what's happened to it, or what. But I lost last week's Monday Club, so I had to drag everyone away from their families to re-record, and only Nick answered. And then we put up the bat signal. Obviously, the Lord of Learning, Gary Hayers, dived on the opportunity. And now we have Tom Bickerton, new to the fraternity. So, without further ado, let's do this. Nick.
Yes. Oh.
We can't really talk about what you did last week, because we're going to talk about that tomorrow.
Oh, yeah, true. I can't remember. Oh, I was thinking of things we could say earlier that would have been quite funny to say. It's like the Tenacious D song about the best song ever. So the
greatest song
podcast
ever.
will be talking about the greatest podcast that we ever did last week that Sam lost. So nice.
No, it definitely weren't that good. In fact, done us a favour.
Is Gary and Tom, is it me or is Sam really glitchy?
Yep, it was really glitchy in the practice bit, but he said everything was all right. No, it was glitching like mad.
Oh, he's going. He is not happy. Oh, there we go. What have you two been doing today?
EITR certificates. I've just finished about 30 today. I got a bit behind on typing them up. Just paperwork like that.
Mate, been there, done that. That's the best thing that I had to get out of with doing stuff on my iPad is as it's literally been completed, it gets signed off. I share it across my Traderify. It then goes across and gets emailed after every job. Otherwise, if I was to come to the end of the week, I'd have so many to catch up on. So fingers crossed it's all right. But yeah, no, paper copy.
Well, mine's done through one letting agent that's got commercial units who we've done them for and a bit of domestic. And we've had a bit of a standoff between me and payment and them receiving the certificates. But unfortunately, they still have to have the paperwork as much as I want to sit there and say, no, you're not having it until it's paid. Sometimes you've just got to pull your big boy pants up and say, okay, I'm going to do it. They've all been sent with a very sort of polite email of, I now expect payment. If it's not paid by X, Y, and Z, we'll be sending a strong letter. But I don't like going down that route. I'm hoping that, it's just because it's the bank holiday weekend and they're going to be a bit more sort of relaxed come Tuesday. So,
talking about EICRs, this is what we're having, because obviously you might have seen my video with not paying me through the estate agents, but I've worked for two. One of them I get a lot, and I think so far I've been handed 140 of them to do, which is great for me, and that's why I could do them a bit cheaper because I've got so many to do. But my issue now I've found with trying to get through so many is my other half gets the emails from the letting agent. She then books it in with the tenants because the estate agent won't book it in with the tenants themselves because there's too many of them. So she does that, and twice now it's happened where I've turned up and not been in. It's one of them. We try and send them a pre-warned text the evening before to pre-warn them if it's been booked in a month prior, because people do forget. But one guy has not answered the door twice now. So he's cost me, give or take, 300 quid because I couldn't do it the first time, couldn't do it the second time. So I spoke to the estate agents and he's now getting an invoice for myself and he knows this for wasting my time.
So you get money for nothing?
Well, yeah. Well, I couldn't book a job in afterwards.
Life, man.
Yeah, I couldn't book a job in afterwards because I'm fully booked up now for 3.5 months. I couldn't just land on a job or make one up. So because I've not done it now, I've lost 2 EICRs worth of money. It's not the estate agent's fault.
It's not just that; it's time. You could be earning more money, like you just said about and everything else. But it's all the man hours that you've had to put in that you don't get paid for to organise.
Yeah, 100%.
So as fascinating as EICRs are, look at Gary drinking champagne. EFIX is doing well. Are you drinking champagne, Gary?
I wish I was. No, it is a fizzy dried beverage, but cannot be suggested it's from the Champagne region of France, I'm afraid.
Prosecco.
Schlur.
Schlur. Listen, I haven't really got much to add in the way of sense and technical knowledge this week. It's lacking. Tom, now I know that you wanted to talk about something quite specific tonight.
Yeah, that's right. I've done 2 podcasts. I did one with Hit the Lights with Gary and E5 a while ago, and we sort of like one sort of learned about what my background was getting into the industry, and the other one's been about my struggle in the industries. And I know everyone's had a struggle, everyone's got a story to tell. But my one's a little bit more close to heart because a lot of guys and girls who are in the industry, I would say, shy away. This is probably more aimed towards with Gary, with obviously his experience in learning and teaching. But I suffer really badly, severely dyslexia. I got diagnosed when I was like 6, and always told.
Hands up on dyslexic as well.
I think most electricians you speak to are, they have some form of doing, as dyslexia or number blindness and everything else. But one of the things that I've kind of wanted to speak to tonight is it doesn't just stop once you've finished your apprenticeship. There is more to it than that. And I don't think a lot of people realise that there's so much help out there that you can get with even going to do further education, with grants and everything else like that, because a lot of people just kind of think, I'm just going to be out on the site all the time, knocking in rewires, putting in tube, bending conduit. And, that doesn't just stop there. Don't just put your life just in that category. There is more to it. I've been, we've all been there. I know, Sam, you still do site work and everything else like that. But there is a higher goal, which I think a lot of people perceive that they think, I can't do that because it's higher education. And I couldn't literally sit and do Pythagoras' theorem. I had to sit and go back to, and sit and learn. And I remember getting frustrated with I was at college. The lecturer was like, why can't you learn this? And I was going, oh, come on. This is, I'm trying to, I left school like few years ago. The only thing I was thinking about was just getting a job and earning some money. I didn't really think that, this was going to be relevant to us. But I think the problem is that a lot of what I've noticed is as well, because I've got a couple of 2 young apprentices who work with me at the moment, and they seem to think that their whole life is going to be just install for the rest of their life. And I'm like, no, aim higher. There's so much more out there than just putting in, back boxes, consumer units and bits and pieces like that. Go for the HNCs, the HNDs and the degrees and everything else. I didn't think I'd be able to do a degree, and I'm still doing it. I'm doing it the long way, which is really, it's hard. Obviously, like yourselves, we all work and, I haven't got time to just dedicate and go off to university. It'd be great. Not currently at the moment with COVID, a lot of it's all long distance learning and everything else like that. But it's been, I would say, not a challenge. It's just hard to sort of interpret, especially when you've got the regs book. Like, I don't know if you guys find when you're reading it, for me, I'll start reading it and then it will just be jumbling all around the page.
Blurry everywhere.
What's a Rick's book?
That big expensive purchase that you have to make every so often.
Subbies don't own Regs books. What's wrong with you? You know what? I find what you're saying quite interesting, because actually, when I turned about 35, I started questioning my life as a subby point and shoot spark electrician, because you're like, well, where does this end? Am I going to be 55 doing containment on a freezing ass cold site somewhere in the deepest, darkest Kent, doing containment in -4 degrees? That's not where I wanted to end up. I took a different path. But when you look at when you look at that sort of sector, like the containment, the point and shoot sparks, your backbone really of the commercial industry, I do wonder what the young lads think they're going to be doing at 55. Because even if you're a foreman on one of those sites, that's not really where you want to be at 55. Yeah, you might be earning 250, 300 quid a day as a foreman, but I think that the goal should be to get completely away from that site experience by the time you're 50 odd, in terms of finding your path, finding a less physical side of the electrical industry. And they exist, contracts managers and stuff like that. The roles exist out there. And even if you're like a designer or whatever, I think it's really important to map out where you want to be at 55 in a physical trade like ours, because it's so easy to get stuck on the tools at any age.
Yeah, it definitely is. I mean, you know, if you look at most guys now, I mean, I was speaking to my old foreman not so long ago, and he's 68, and he's still on the tools as a spark, which I think is great. You know, this guy's phenomenal. He's still there. He's still turning out and doing his day's work. But there's going to be a line drawn soon, because he can't do tube bending anymore, because my old firm was a MOD company that did a lot of commercial and industrial work on naval ships and everything else like that. You know, there's going to be a cut-off point when he can't do the physical attributes of the gripping, you know, the pulling, the lifting and everything else, because we're like most professionals in our sport, even like, or looking it through to football players and professional sportsmen, there comes a cut-off point in your life where you've got to sort of take a back seat, because your limbs, your body is starting to tell you that, yeah, 18, 19, when you came into this, it's great, you know, lifting 6, you know, bundles of tube on one shoulder and you DeWalt drill under the other one and away you go, sort of thing. But you've got to look at the bigger picture, which is comfort, relaxing and enjoying the rest of your thing, because it's great to have all of these great memories and you can look back and tell all the young guys and girls who are coming in and say, I used to do all this, blah, blah, blah. But the bigger picture is the fact is, without being rude, it's the wage factor. You've got to start looking what's going to be more profitable for you, because especially with, you know, company pensions not being the way they are anymore, you've got to look at thinking, they don't exist. No, of course they don't. But you've got to look into the factor of, you know, do you want to be in a cold, like you were just saying, a cold, dark site at 6:30 in the morning, freezing, trying to gear yourself up ready to go, you know, your ailments and limbs and, you know, all this sort of stuff? Or do you want to be in that, driving to work in a nice company car, going into the office? And, you know, that's the sort of thing that more people need to steer by. But this is what I was saying with about the learning difficulties, people's stigmatism, that they think, oh, I can't quite do that because I don't think I'm clever enough to do that. You are.
You could be like Gary. Be an electrician for a couple of years, go into teaching, and then sit around drinking champagne. Don't worry about it.
I'll chip in there. I'm ranked dyslexic as well. You have to work within your skill set. So, of course, I was not wanting to go towards maybe an office-based job when I left school, because I thought the electrical industry would give me a chance, as you quite rightly said, to do practical aspects of it. But, of course, you quickly realise you've got to pass all your exams. You quickly realise that life's going to change. And obviously, I then moved into teaching, being ranked dyslexic, and I had to work a way out of not getting caught out, really. So, in other words, I had to work within my skill set. My skill set was I was a hugely enthusiastic. I was incredibly dedicated to what I was doing, but my spelling was not great. So, I created a set of notes in my own time that actually became my comfort blanket. I never read from my notes because I wrote them myself. So it's like reading your own book. You know what's in the pages of your own book. And in 19 years, nobody ever noticed I never wrote on the board. I did drawings on the board and I labelled the odd drawing, but I never wrote on the board. I had a fantastic set of notes and a fantastic electronic library that we worked from. And I could talk about the stuff that we needed to do very eloquently. I could get other learners empowered to come up with the answers. I'd never mark spelling of people's work because, again, I knew they'd be in the same position as me when we did group work and all the rest of it. And I just worked within my skill set. I then went on and got an assessor's award, a verifiers award, and a degree for my teaching, having worked within a bloke who was ranked dyslexic. It's not changed now, and I don't do emails, as eFix will tell you. I don't do emails either very well because responding to emails are a very difficult process for me. And you just got to find a way to.
Is it mainly spelling?
Yeah, it is. And it is. And I've got that old classic. I miss letters off the end of words. Even when I read back stuff I put on Instagram, and I think, oh my word, I've missed letters off the end. And we did during my Cert Ed, we did a dyslexia test. Never had one before. I knew I was dyslexic. It was scale 1 to 5. I was rank 5 dyslexic. And people looked at me in the room and I was like, well, yeah, I knew I was. Never been tested before. Yeah. And then looking at it, I got round it. I got round it through personality. I got round it through banter. I got round it through humour. I just got round it. Also got all my GCSEs of C and above when I did them. I found a way to make it work for me. So I've now got... sorry, Nick.
No, you're exactly the same as me. All the way through high school, primary school, nothing. And it's my electrical teacher, my lecturer at college, who went... He saw the way I was spelling stuff and he was like, So he put me through the exam and he was like, you're highly dyslexic. And it made sense because my dad was. My dad, I mean, even now, like if I go back through, find some letters or whatnot, like he'd written for quotes or invoices and whatnot, he couldn't even write properly. Like genuinely, his spelling was atrocious. It looked like he'd like use his left-handed, like a broken left hand. Like he just couldn't write properly. And my mum used to have to do like decipher what he said to do his invoices and quotes. And I went through all of it. And that's like where I put these on because these are my glasses. So I struggled with black writing on white paper. Mm-hmm. So luckily my mum was an optometrist and I was like, I don't want standard glasses. So she managed to get Ray-Ban sunglasses and put my lenses in them. But yeah, I'm exactly the same as you. And I got through the whole of it with personality, with banter, with a bit of confidence because I knew I couldn't do it, but you brush it off. Sam's laughing. But it's true, like I can't do it. And I'm really good at maths. I'm so bad. And the worst thing I have sometimes, I say it to my other half all the time, let's say my mum and dad's very good friends are Gary and Amanda. I would say Amanda and Gary. Gander and Mary. I would mix the first letter for each word up and combine them completely randomly. And I've done it with so many people. And she's like, how do you do that? I was like, if I try to do it, it's hard. But if I'm just doing normally in a sentence, it comes out backwards. And she's like, she just ignores me now because she knows what I'm meaning to say. But all the time,
it's annoying.
It's really odd. Really
it's annoying having a peach impediment, isn't
it? Nice one.
I tell you what.
But again, the best thing about me, though, because I knew how I was, if you came into my lessons, I'd already adapted the world to make it one that you couldn't be fearful of writing. Don't be fearful of writing. Don't be fearful of getting it wrong. I'm interested in ideas. I'm interested in your thoughts. And I created that sort of classroom community where it didn't matter. And we were a team. We were in it together. And if somebody was poorer at, say, spelling or maths, they might be better at practical or English or something like that. And we used a group mentality in order to get ourselves through. But that was partly because I felt if I was in that room, I'd probably be the one that didn't want to pick up the pen and do the writing on the flip chart paper. But if we got in the workshop, I'd probably be all right. So I'd be able to help you out in the workshop. So we sort of came up with that idea. But I always work within the system. So my Cert Ed, I wrote all my assignments. I wrote 8 assignments. I think they were 10,000 words each in order to get from affecting my teaching degree. But nobody said you couldn't have a shell check. So my wife's Michelle. And I didn't need a spell check. I just needed a shell check. So like she would read them. She'd never change the content, but she'd just make sure that those things that I'd make as a small error didn't go through, just to save that embarrassment. Okay, It's not an embarrassing thing, but of course, if you're in a room full of very educated people, I had people on the law, teaching law in with me teaching electrical studies. obviously there's a bar there that you've got to reach. So I'd say work within your skill set and just keep moving forward. We're in a different world than we were probably 25 years ago, and we're a lot more forgiving as well about everything. I would suggest, not just dyslexia and things like that.
Yeah, absolutely.
I find this with, and I can put it into one conversation, like where I've put the video about my friend passed away, my dad, and I would get a lot of messages. And the video I did recently about getting fed up of being self-employed, hundreds of messages from people with the same experience, of people saying their dads have passed away, or friends, taking their own lives and whatnot. And I want to respond to all of them. But my issue is I hate texting. I mean, get me wrong, autocorrect on your computer, on your text or everything has done me wonders now. I can't put emotions and thoughts into text messages. It comes out like I'm trying to write to a company. I can't do it properly. So I always say to someone, I just send them a number, just ring me, because I can put full emotion and put full range of my words and how I want to speak to them. But trying to put it in text form, I end up becoming a robot, and it's quite bad sometimes. Do you know? I can't put my emotions into text.
I think that's a good thing, though, because sometimes if you read into a message too much, you're like, well, how do I respond to this? Is it going to come across too personal? Is it going to come across too aggressive? There is a lot of clarity when it comes to things. I got an email this evening just before I came on here, and it was from someone cancelling a job. But the way that it was worded was quite sincere. It was more like, I'm really sorry to mess you about. But automatically in my head, I already read it. I was like, oh, great, it's another time waster. But when you read it properly and you read the context, there was emotion behind, I won't say emotion, but the way that they'd worded it was quite articulated. So you're reading it, and it was like, I was going through it, and I was going, what does this word say? And I kept saying to my missus, she's a teacher, and I kept saying, what's this word say? What's this word say? And I'm getting more frustrated in my head. But it was just a sincere message just to say, I can't do blah, 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 because of X, Y, and Z. Really sorry. Could we reschedule? Yours sincerely, Mr. Smith, and that was it. But I read it, I hadn't read it properly. I was getting frustrated because I didn't know what certain words that he'd used, and I was getting really angry. And then I realised that's not the case. It's just be a bit more.
So it's better having someone to proofread it, isn't there?
Yeah, if only. And again, I did exactly the same as you said there, Nick. People contact me all the time, probably due to you and Chris, which is becoming a bit of a problem. You're becoming something of an icon to become an electrician. And I get 2 or 3 people every week reach out to me, normally on Facebook, and say, I want to change career. And I always say, here's my phone number. Ring me on this time on a Sunday, and I'll explain it to you, because I just can't put myself through the hassle of trying to message them the information, and it'll come through and you think, they'll read it and they think, wow, it doesn't make any sense. So I always take phone calls. So I took one yesterday.
Doing bullet points. Have you ever done it in bullet points? So they send you like a massive message with those questions. I'll just go, hi, blah, 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 bullet point, bullet point, bullet point. Okay.
Yeah, it's working within the problem, isn't it? You've just got to get around it. And I'd like to think that anyone watches this and thinks, wow, he taught for 19 years. I'd like to suggest that I was all right at teaching. I've got some very good teaching grades, and I got asked to mentor other people, but nobody ever noticed that I'd ever wrote on the board 19 years. So I had a great set of pens. I probably had the original set of pens when I left, because it was, I did drawings on the board, but I had a great set of notes, and I left my notes behind, and I'm sharing them at the minute on social media and all the rest of it. But it's work within your skill set to do the best you can, rather than saying, I can't do something because I've got X, Y, and Z. Whether it be a thing such as dyslexia, maybe Asperger's and things like that. You've got to work within skill set. Even, with my current situation with my daughter, you've got to work now within your skill set, and you've got to find a way around it. She's only got one hand now, so she's having to find a way around her life. She's not sitting there going, I can't do all of these things. She's finding a way, in order to progress and move through. So,
Sam, do you want to say anything?
His internet's gone, isn't it?
Yeah, Sam, I can't hear you now. Your microphone's gone off.
Well, that's all right.
Should we stop? Oh, no, I can hear you now.
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah. Did I see her climbing the other day?
Yeah, I've got lots of, Nick knows. Nick's been fantastic to me, and
Cheers, mate.
He helped me out again recently, and I've got lots of little video clips, and we're probably 8 months off, maybe the end of the year, before we can get the hero arm that you recommended to me, Sam, when I was in hospital. And it doesn't go and thank that you sent me that link to Open Bionics. But I don't want people to think that the help they've given me isn't going to be used. So what I don't want is a massive gap of seeing the journey my daughter's on and us as a family, and then eventually us getting hopefully the year on by hopefully the end of the year. So I'd just sort of feed things out. So, she was running on a treadmill. That footage was probably a couple of months back. I put it on Instagram. She was climbing that wall. That was on her 13th birthday. Believe it or not, she asked to go to a climbing wall on her 13th birthday, having just come out. Yeah, she'd come out late August and went to a climbing wall in October for a birthday because it was that's what I want to do, Dad. It's not necessarily practical at the time. Yeah, she had to go. So,
but I suppose it all boils down to something that I find really. This has been like a bit of a quest of mine with my Fat Sam podcast. Is understanding mentality of the winning mentality, the resilient mentality, all that sort of stuff, and I think this conversation plays into that, where you guys have a learning disability. I'm just going to say it as it is, as it comes into my. You've got a learning disability in terms of the way you see words and decipher them. Now, it takes a certain type of mentality to become successful despite that disability. And again, it feeds into the same way as Vienna is pushing back against her misfortune, and now she is actually got a very strong mentality around it, and she's pushing back against it. And I think it's really, really important when we talk about these things to sort of, you've got a problem, but how do you deal with that? And I think Gary's summed that up very well. It just works with what he's got. Same with Nick. I can't speak for Tom, but I know Nick and Gary are both very successful at what they do and how they do it. And I think it's just it's a mentality, isn't it? It's a mindset going into what you're doing and not accepting that you're held back by a certain disability.
Very competitive. Go on, sorry.
No, go on, Gary. I was just saying, I know exactly. Yeah, it's up and downs. It's never a straightforward path. It's always corners and up and downs and going back 5 steps. But if you always see the bigger picture of what you want to achieve, you can set your mind to it. As soon as your mind's set on something, you can achieve it. It may take 5 years, 10 years, or 2 weeks, but yeah, you set your goals and you try and aim for them. 100%. This is where a few of my friends have failed. They never set goals for themselves. It's always, I'll just float through life. Well, you'll never achieve anything. You just float. Set goals, go for them, smash them, and then you got something to aim for, haven't you?
See me, so historically I've been in charge of doing thumbnails for YouTube and stuff like that. I'm so bad at spelling, right? And I'm not dyslexic. I can't even.
Just stupid.
I'm just dumb. And I'm so bad at spelling that it took me about 4 attempts to get. I did one in the very early days. I spelled electricians wrong. And then I spelled. I'm always spelling things like field wrong, and
mine's dining room. I always put 2 N's.
Plumber. I put 2 M's. But it's plumber.
I wouldn't say
I'm just terrible at spelling.
I wouldn't say you're dumb, Sam, or anything else. You're just out of practice. When did you leave school?
No, he's dumb. Don't be polite, Tom. He's
Listen, if your one responsibility a week is to do a podcast and press a record button and you mess that up, you're dumb.
No, I just think that's life, isn't it? Everything gets in the way. You can't put it down to being dumb, thick, whatever. It's just you just forgetfulness, isn't it?
You don't know, Sam. I'm not going to stick up for him here. Yeah, he's dumb. Yeah. I'm going to go for it.
Hey, man. But I think... Go on, Tom.
I was going to say, I don't want to try and make it a whole podcast about, woe is me and dyslexic is, the thing. But I think the problem is that, there are some guys out there who have been merciless. I mean, I speak from experience and I won't go into my past because that's a different thing for a different time. But, that are mercilessly bullied for being dyslexic on site still to this day, and bits and pieces. I mean, I remember my college lecturer, sorry, Gary, who was really good at helping me. He sat me next to a guy who was absolutely useless at practical. He didn't know a hammer from a screwdriver.
Wasn't Sam, was it?
And the reason being is his foreman had taken him on as a glorified tool caddy. So he just used to just carry around all his tools and everything else. And he'd say, pass me a Phillips or pass me a Crosset or whatever. And he'd pass it to him. But to actually learn the practical side, he was no good at. So he was practical, I was really good at, but I was absolutely useless. I mean, the guy who sat next to you, I can never thank him because he taught me a really quick way of doing, like you're saying, like build a team and Pythagoras' theorem and everything else like that, which is really good. Obviously, when we separated and we went our separate ways after our apprenticeships, you know, I was hearing stories of guys who are in my group who are, you know, like, oh, come on, how can you not spell this on the label printer? How can you not spell this on the test sheet? This is ridiculous. And, you know, bits and they've been put in these positions where they're like being sort of, not saying bullied, but it is what it is. You've got it in front of you. Like you say, you've got to deal with what you've got in front of you. And if, you know, if it's not right, then you say, well, you know, if you don't want me writing a certificate, get someone else who's better at spelling, you know, that sort of thing. But at the same time, I think a lot of, I mean, I'll just use this as an example. I worked recently on an MOD site, which is quite a large ministry defence site, and there was a guy on there who just took, you know, you just get a one person who takes a disliking to someone, and that was me. I was doing some test certificates and I was just typing them out, just minding my own business. I spelt the name wrong, I spelt all this. But what I usually do is I used to wait until everyone had gone, and then I'd sit there and I'd just be on the phone to my other half and say, how do you spell this word? And she'd be like, da-da-da-da, tell me, and I'd type it back out, sort of thing. But anyway, he'd found out I'd done these certificates, and he made it really like sort of public that he'd put them all over the sort of site camera, and was like put thick, you know, all these obscene words and everything that he put all over it. And I remember going up to him, I just sort of said to him, I said, do you feel empowerment that you can bully someone who's got this, or is this just come naturally to you? And he was like, oh, it's just balance. I was like, yeah, it probably is balance. I find it hilarious that you've taken this time to do this when you can have time to do something else. But anyway, but that was what I was trying to get at with it.
It's pathetic, isn't it?
Yeah, but fair play to Electra, though. Yeah, fair play to Electra, though, because he was using the buddy system. Yeah. He was taking somebody who knew would be needed a little bit of help in one area, maybe practical, being the person you sat next to, and he knew you could offer that, and obviously swapped it around. I used a lot of that. And it's yeah, I don't think anyone would feel the person who put your stuff up on the site wall and that. I don't think there's anyone watching this podcast that would actually be thinking that was a great idea.
No.
At all. No. We're not in that world anymore.
I don't think anyone would have looked at that and gone, oh, he's a dickhead. They'd have thought that more about the guy who'd put it up.
Yeah.
No one respects that. No one respects punching down. And that's essentially what it is. Not that you're below him, but if he can spell and you can't, and he's taking the mick out of you, then he's a wrong one.
Well, I could have turned around and said to him that it took me an hour to find the fault that he created on one of the lighting circuits. I didn't really want to diminish him even more than what he'd already tried to do to me. But that's what I mean. You can sit there and scoff and be whatever you like, you know, about what towards things. Yeah. But you know, a better person is just to sit there. I mean, I've done it before. I've sat there and I've been signing like a sort of contract for a new vehicle for me and my business partner. And we've been sat there like writing it all out and everything else. And they're like, can you just put this, and this? And I'm like looking at him, and he goes, give it here. And he'll like fill it all like bit out. And they go, all right, so you're going to do the signing bit? And I'm like, yeah. And then they're looking at you going, what's up with this bloke? Can he not sign his own paperwork? It's like, no, I can't. Well, just want it because it's a legal binding contract. I just want it to be top notch.
I know exactly what you mean. I think the last time I did that, I was in the EE shop getting a new phone contract from my other half, and he was like, oh, can you just fill this in for me? And I was sat there like, oh, shit. It's just awful. But I end up getting your phone out. There's the best thing about, is it dictation? And I found out now on my iMac, if I click FN twice, all my quotes and invoices, I can dictate it all, and it auto fills it all in for me. It's like delicious.
Find a way.
Yeah, that's it.
Adapt and overcome.
I'll be back in a sec.
All right. Okay. So how's everyone's
turned up?
Yeah. So how's everyone's week been then? So you got any gems in the back catalogue either of you?
Not really. I've done some filming. The tattoo studio video went up yesterday. I asked everyone to send me some pictures of EICRs, because obviously EICRs for everyone is massive at the moment. And I've got a stupid amount of pictures that are just awful of what's been happening, what I've seen. thought I'd do a video on that. What else we've got?
You invaded my channel today. You invaded my channel whenever this goes out.
I looked at it earlier. My brother, because obviously for the first time we're allowed people in our gardens. So my brother came round with my niece that I hadn't seen properly in nearly a year. So I set the bouncy castle up for the kids in the garden. They were having a laugh with each other, just talking to my brother. And that's why I've been sunburned, just sat in the sun all day. And then when he went, I was like, oh, I'll empty the shed out. And I've just done my wrist in again, Sam. So, it's been nice. It's nice to hear.
What I want to know is, Tom,
yes,
what did you get up to last week? What is a work week like for old Tomo Bicco?
Well, I run my own company. We probably cover domestic, commercial, industrial. So at the moment, I've just transferred from one vehicle to another. So that's been the highlight of this week. But predominantly, we're quite a humble company. We're based in Portsmouth. We don't really get too involved in big major sites or anything like that anymore. We've all been and done that in our careers. We've all worked on some really prestigious contracts and stuff and other things, but we're just happy just doing anything electrically now. So, from putting in a new consumer unit all the way through to new EV points, which was one of the new things we've just got into.
Big business.
Yeah, it's really good. I'm not don't want to blow smoke up someone's backside who's sat here at the moment, but we've been watching obviously EVIX videos and stuff like that with the EV sort of stuff, and that sort of like flamed our sort of passion to do EV points. So it was kind of like we went and sat and done the course, and then now we've done the OLEV registration and we've now registered with some manufacturers, and we're trying to focus more of our company onto that.
What is your preferred EV charger manufacturer?
At the moment, I'm going to be really biased because I know who your favourite one is at the moment. I'm quite like the Anderson ones at the moment. Purely
nice looking, aren't they?
They're nice looking, and they're doing downsides. We've only fitted one My Energy one, which was really good, a tethered one for a client of ours. But they're just stock levels. They're really struggling at the moment with manufacturing, and they're like on back order to about June at the moment. And obviously, I've got clients who won't wait till then, so we've had to.
I'll let you off. Listen, My Energy are the only ones anyone should supply. Not because, and they don't sponsor us. I just think the story behind My Energy. Why is Nick pulling that face?
Because your phone your internet keeps going in and out.
I can't help that. I've got full signal. My Energy, the story behind it, one of the faces behind it, Jordan Brompton, it's just like the energy that comes out of My Energy as a company. It's just mesmerizing. And I'm caught up in the hype. I'm just caught up in the hype. I can't say anything else. I don't know nothing about EV chargers, but if I had to install one, I'd only install My Energy just because of the ethos and the drive and the energy that comes from Jordan Brompton. She's just really one of my favourite people.
I think they're more adaptable than most things. I mean, there's more to a My Energy one than, say, an Anderson one. And Anderson, I would probably be more the aesthetic looks. But if you're going down more of the home renewable energy sort of factor, then My Energy one sort of top trumps everything, because you can now install this solar, sort of battery sort of backup system with it, as well as the is it the Eddy?
The Eddy and the Harvey, yeah.
And the Harvey, yeah. So you've got all of this great combination of equipment under one umbrella, which I think is phenomenal, which I think some manufacturers should sort of be looking into. But that's why I would always say they're probably a bit more benchmark. But for the aesthetic sort of practicality, that's why I go with the Anderson, because they're better sort of looking in that respect. Because where I live in Portsmouth, we don't all have off-road parking. A lot of it is sort of like a little driveway or something like that. It's not quite big enough for like two cars. So where a lot of people have a lot of their homes adapted and made into that sort of thing, the obvious thing would be to have something that ties in with their sort of like front of the building.
I'll let you off.
Yeah,
But
fair
still
points.
installing the wrong ones. Gary, what has your week entailed?
So say that again. You broke up. Sorry, apologise.
What's your week entailed?
Right. Okay. Well, again, just content. I've also helped a mate out. So I've done some wiring. I've come out of the retirement bench. One of my friends has got a property that he's bought for renting. Him and another electrician, he needed a hand. So I went along and helped Steve and his mate in order to, new consumer unit, downlights, every accessory got changed. I changed some of the lights more than once. I changed them for brand new fresh pendants, and then now we want a fancy light fitting. I did all of that, and I did it all for mates rates, which is 0 pennies and £0, which is always good. Where there's a will, there's a relative or a friend, and I happen to be that friend this time. Today, I know we're watching this on Monday, but this is Easter Sunday for me. I actually went and shot 2 GSH electrical videos to help students today. Yeah, I fully edited them as well. 20 minutes worth of content. So I've got 60 in hand still. So I may have left Tresham College exactly 1 year ago, almost to the day, but I've still got 60 videos. And as Nick would suggest, I think we did our video that released today, which was on the Sunday of Easter, was about 14 months ago.
Yeah, it was our last video, wasn't it? Yeah. Christ,
yeah. So
was it, how long ago? Was it 14 months ago?
Yeah, back to February of 2020. Yeah, before the,
So my old van and everything.
Yeah.
What an unbelievable thing that is. It blows my mind. GSH library. It blows my mind. You have to be completely and utterly obsessed with it to be able to produce that much content. You are, quite frankly, a lunatic.
My nickname was Relentless. I'm just, again, it's part of, my makeup is that if I'm going to do something, I'm just going to keep doing it. And I didn't want, I got this morning. Me and the wife are currently watching Line of Duty, trying to catch everybody up.
You're watching it tonight? Yeah.
No, because I've started season 5. But I only started watching season 1 on Mothering Sunday when I bought my wife by the kids. So we've caught up almost. We will be, by the time you get to episode 6 of Line of Duty, I'll be watching it live. It's just amazing. But
it gets better and better.
Yeah, it just is phenomenal. But again, it's that relentless. I want to catch up. I'm going to do it. I'm going to do 2 videos every week. Since I left Tresham College a year ago, I've done 2 videos every week since I left. I've got 60 videos in hand because I reckon a year's time, which will be my 2-year anniversary, I will release the video when I left. So it'll be the one where I walk down the corridor and say goodbye to Tresham College. I reckon I won't release that for another 12 months. So it'll be 2 years out of sync.
Do you find it? Because if I've done a block record, let's say I've had a week of 5 videos, I'm going to have to record a 4. I will edit them all, and then it'll always end up being the last video I've done, or I'll get excited about one good one. I know that'll hit off, or I just enjoyed filming it, and I just don't care about the rest of them. I know it's content, but you just go, whatever. I'll wait until that, and I feel like I'll push that one forward and just bring it. But I like continuity with stuff. Like when people have watched our stuff before, it's not like, we're just watching for electrical content. A lot of people say, like, we're watching it like it's a soap, you and Adam, like, we watch it as TV, like half an hour episodes and whatnot. And I feel like I owe it to them to put continuity between this is this day, then this is the next day. And a few times I've put a job before a video and whatnot. And it sort of confuses people a little bit. Where one time I think I had the new van, and then there was a video that jumped back and I was in my old van. They were like, what? And I was like, yeah, it was just, I got excited about a van.
Is it one of them? Cool. I suppose you had to be there for that story.
You had to be there, yeah.
I always think it's like when you do a video, it's like your new child. Isn't it brilliant? Isn't this child just lovely? And then you make another one. You go, well, this one's lovely. Isn't this one great? And you forget about the child you had before. When you got 60, and I went back and obviously recently watched the video that we did with you in the back of the van, I'm like, that was a great video. I really enjoyed it. What a good day we had with Nick. It was 14 months ago. I've got loads of those.
Someone put in the video, doesn't it look youthful?
Yes.
It was a year ago.
Nick, success has taken its toll, I would suggest.
I've aged. I'm fatter, definitely.
Welcome to the club.
not that fat.
Mate, this is a good angle for me as well.
Jesus.
Yeah, well, Nick, we can't really talk about what we need to talk about because we're going to be talking about that tomorrow. This is an emergency bat signal podcast that we had to throw up because I messed up.
So can we summarise it then, Sam, if this is where you're going to end? That if you've got an issue, and my daughter's got an issue, my son's got an issue, I've got an issue. I think dyslexia in our electrical industry is very prevalent. There's a lot of people with it. Work within your problem. Do the best you can, but don't ever make a door shut in your face because you believe there is an issue with yourself that can't open that door. I think every door is open to you. Find a way, work around it, and see if you can keep moving forward and progress your career based on your enthusiasm, your energy, your willingness to take on every task and willingness to learn new stuff, regardless of the things that may stop you on your journey, potentially within your own mind, I would suggest.
100%. Powerful words from the Lord of Learning. This is Monday Club. We are out.
Do it, Sam. There we go.